What was more annoying? The outcome of the Packers Cowboys game ending in a tie, or that ticker that was running the entire game telling YouTube customers, you better tell YouTube to not get these channels removed?
I'd have to go with the YouTube TV one.
Yeah.
It's because not because I find it more annoying than a tie. I'm actually with you. That pissed me off. Especially having watched the Oregon Penn State game on Saturday and watching the college playoff football rules in effect and seeing that they can't somehow change the overtime rules to make it so that there's actually a winning team on the other side of it in the NFL. Yeah, that was very annoying. But having YouTube TV across the top, not knowing what the hell they're talking about, with it feeling like it's a scam saying
Yeah.
go to watchyourchannels.net or whatever it is, that was worse because it was across all platforms. It wasn't just something on a Sunday night.
Oh, so that was on everything, even if you didn't have YouTube TV?
No, if you had YouTube TV, that was on everything you were watching. Like it was on the Ryder Cup coverage. It was on Premier League. It was on everything.
Yeah. So if you don't know what we're referring to, if you are a YouTube TV customer, there was a running ticker that almost looked as if like a special bulletin from the local news that we were getting bombed or something. And it would come across during these sporting events saying, YouTube's at it again. They're not going to pay us the money we want. And I'm like, NBC, I get it, but like we're in the middle of overtime here. And I don't need to see this shit all day long. That was annoying. But if you're new to the show, you guys, or you, I'll tell you guys, if you've watched us for quite some time, you know that I hate ties in the NFL. It's my least favorite rule. You cannot have a game end in a fucking tie. God, after all that. So I have more questions for you, Steven. Who do you think was more angry? Me Sunday night when that game ended in a tie, or Ben Johnson being interviewed by Aditi Kikawala at halftime?
Ben Johnson.
I was pretty pissed.
No, you mean you might have been pissed, but Ben Johnson looked like he was ready to kill somebody.
Yeah, what'd you think about the whole situation? And we could play the sound, but Aditi Kikawala, who I love, she's been on NFL Network for years. She moved over to CBS. She's a really good journalist, but I don't think she phrased her questions the proper way. Then again, did Ben Johnson need to be really pissed? He's also a football coach in the middle of a game.
It seemed like she was playing hardball and he did the same. Like they were both throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs at each other, and Aditi said, "I'm going to one-up you," and said, "Well, you need to make changes," because it's true. The Bears stunk in the first half. They looked terrible in the first half, which is why I hate what happened with the Raiders game, and I know we'll get to it, but they looked awful. And I think it's a fair question to ask, what kind of changes are you going to make? But when you frame it in saying, hey, you guys need to make changes, what are you going to do? In a way that is kind of hostile, I guess.
A little bit. Dude, I sent you the clip. We played real quick. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. We're coming to you on a Tuesday night. Steven's back from the baby convention. How was that, by the way?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it was in Santa Clara, and there was a whole it was in the convention center, which is right across from Levi's.
Yeah.
And there was another thing happening, like some company function, a convention of sorts. There was no parking whatsoever, but you're walking through, and I got like this. I literally got this shirt. I think I got this hat. I had flip flops on. Like I'm kind of dressed down for the occasion, and everyone's wearing like these suits with these badges. And I'm thinking, damn, this is
badges.
This is some official shit.
Badges. You don't need no stinking badges for a baby convention.
And then you end up going down and you see that there's a bunch of pregnant people walking in one direction. So you're thinking, that's our place. But no, man, it was cool. I mean, it was just a bunch of people trying to sell you on things and kind of introducing you to what you're probably going to, I don't know, what you're probably going to have to get at some point, or maybe something extra that you didn't think of.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the next phase of your life. But as Tacky suggested in the chat here, it's an orgy. Not quite. Not quite, Tacky.
I can confirm that it was not an orgy.
Yeah. I think that the orgy already happened prior to the convention, given everybody was pregnant.
Although there was a seminar on breastfeeding. Or chest feeding, if you're too sensitive to calling it breastfeeding.
Is that a thing now?
Yeah, that's what I learned, is breastfeeding or chest feeding.
Okay.
or a seminar on a baby Bjorn. I gotta say, there was an MC, a master of ceremonies, who was conducting and organizing all the seminars. They were having one every half hour from 12 until 4:30. Gotta say, guy on the mic, very talented.
Nice. Okay, we got to command a room full of pregnant women, so
Yeah.
I commend him for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also he was making a bunch of dude jokes. It felt a little sexist. Yeah.
Really?
No. No, not at all,
Well,
man.
the fact that he had to bring up it's called chest feeding now instead of breastfeeding.
Right. Well, that whole thing is about the pregnant moms to be like that. The husbands are there to be supportive.
Yeah, of course.
We are there to, hold the bags and do whatever we got to do. So I was all for being made fun of.
No, that's
No
totally
problem.
fine. That's totally fine. Yeah. Do you have that clip, Stephen, of Ben Johnson and Didi Kikawala? Because
hang on one sec.
I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think it was bound to happen when a coach was going to get pissed off during being interviewed in those things if the game wasn't going well. And Ben Johnson seems to be a very intense individual, so I'm not surprised by this. I don't think Aditi phrased this properly, though.
Your offense has struggled to take advantage of those takeaways. Yeah. Okay, so what did you tell them to get things going?
That it wasn't our brand of football. We're capable of a lot more, and so we're hitting the reset button here at halftime, and we're going to come back and establish our identity here in the second half.
You need to change what you're doing.
I don't know. You think so? We're going to be just fine.
She was trying to be playful. She said, so you need to change what you're doing, but the tone in which she said it came across like she was being critical, and I think Ben Johnson was like, oh, you think so, huh? Yeah. And I can understand, like, it's the heat of the moment. He's trying to win a game. He even said in a press conference after the game that he was disappointed with his reaction, and he'll be better about that going forward. But I don't think he handled it terribly. It just, he comes across like he's agitated. That's fair.
You need to change what you're doing.
I don't know. You think so? We're going to be just fine.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's staring down on her like it's not as bad as who was it? Was it Melissa Stark that asked John Harbaugh a question and he got all pissy with her? I thought that was worse.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. She was trying to be playful. It's not a playful moment, and Ben Johnson was like, "I'm just trying to win a fucking football game." And Aditi is awesome. She is a awesome reporter. I have a lot of respect for her. She just phrased that poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I actually kind of liked it. In a way, looking back on that, I kind of liked it because emotions are running high. It's a football game. You expect the head coach to be super intense. And what do you know? They went on to win. And I think that intensity is kind of what people loved about Ben Johnson. I personally didn't know much about him before he signed with the Bears. I really didn't.
Right.
I knew that he obviously drew up the X's and O's for the Lions and did all those different things, running trick plays, which they did. They ran a fake flea flicker, which was just unreal. But even though
that was a pretty good play call,
it did go for a fumble. But I thought that he was just kind of that classic offensive guy who is just fairly quiet, reserved, like what you'd expect out of like Liam Cohen. And I know we'll have that with what he did with Saleh, that little moment. But I'm kind of shocked at how fiery he is. I didn't know that about him. And I kind of liked it because it felt genuine. And I think that's the first time we've seen, or one of the few times we've seen a genuine answer that they want to give during those sideline reports. Because really, and it's no shame on Aditi's part. You got to supplement the income any way you can. It's a job that's available, but I don't really see much value in those mid-quarter reports anyways. It's the same. It's the same on the basketball court. It doesn't really matter the sport. If you're asking questions like that in the middle of a game, you're not going to be getting any real answers. And clearly he was pissed at the way they performed in the first half. And anyone who was going to tell him that, well, yeah, you're probably going to get it right back.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Shanahan was honest years ago when they started doing these. I think it was during an Amazon Prime game. And he was like, I'm not going to enjoy these whatsoever. And that comes with the territory of being a head coach in the NFL. All right. Third question for you, Stephen. Who do you think was more angry? Me, when I saw that the Packers-Cowboys game ended in a tie, or Liam Cohen at the end of that game going up to Robert Saleh?
Liam Cohen.
Yeah. He takes the cake over Ben Johnson or anybody that was pissed off this weekend. And I don't blame Liam Cohen, to be honest. I thought that he kind of went a little too overboard, where it was clear he did not want to talk to Robert Saleh. Saleh came up to shake his hand, and he shook his head, being like, nope, not doing that. And then he did the thing where he walked away for a little bit of time. He's like, you know what? I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something to Robert Saleh. Turned back around and said, keep my name out your mouth. And then I didn't see this part. I didn't hear it either in the video that's been shared, but I guess Nick Wagner has better ears than all of us. Apparently, Robert Saleh says to Liam Cohen, I'll end your fucking life. You don't want to fuck with me. And you don't, because Robert Saleh's a badass. But I don't blame Liam Cohen for being upset, because I got to be honest, I don't think Robert Saleh should have said those things. I thought that he was trying to be complimentary. But at the same time, when you say sign stealing, that's going to piss a coach off. So I understand why he was upset. But I thought Liam Cohen got a little too butthurt about it.
I thought so too. I did agree that he was trying to praise him, but I think Liam Cohen could have handled that better.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, why have it out on the field? Why wait till? I know you can't talk until Sunday, but like, I don't know. I'm no better, but I'd like to think that just watching that and doing a little Monday morning quarterbacking on situations like that, I'd like to think they'd be able to walk up and say, hey, man, I didn't really appreciate that. Like, can we talk about it later? I don't want to hash it out on this field. Like, like, you know, we're going to celebrate this, but I'm in a good mood, but I wasn't too pleased with the way that you worded that. I wish they could do that. But again, emotions are running high too, so I can understand it. But yeah, Cohen doing that thing where you're walking 30 feet away and then you start to talk, like, you don't want to say anything. You know that he wasn't saying anything because Saleh's a big guy.
Of course. And I liked Kyle today when the reporter asked him, is there anybody in the NFL that could kick Robert Saleh's ass? And he was like, well, only me. And then he was obviously joking. And then they're like, what about Dan Campbell? He was like, yeah, Dan Campbell, of course. He could kick everybody's ass. Yeah. But Liam Cohen pulled the Will Smith. He used his phrase, but it was the same thing where Will Smith was laughing at the joke by Chris Rock, laughing. And then he saw Jada Pinkett Smith was upset, so he walked up and slapped Chris Rock. Liam Cohen shook his head at Robert Saleh. Okay, that's the end of it. He walked away. He took a couple of steps. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to say something now. I'm going to be a tough guy. That was a bad look. But I understand why he was frustrated. But to your point, Steven, Liam Cohen probably should have said something before the game, be like, hey, Robert, you know, between coaches, what the fuck, man?
Yeah. And maybe would have had an understanding with it. But unlike Will Smith, I don't think Liam Cohen's career is going to go down the drain after that moment.
No.
Not just his career, but the way that he's viewed in NFL circles.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Will Smith's reputation has completely shifted into being one of the coolest people in the world and to being one of the saddest people in the world. Yeah. And I hate that. I hate it so much.
Well, at what point was Will Smith cool to you, Steven?
In the 90s, in the early 2000s.
Yeah, I got to be honest, though. As soon as Eminem called him out saying Will Smith don't have to cuss in his raps to sell records, well, I do, so fuck him and fuck you too. I was like, yeah, Will Smith's kind of corny.
Yeah, but he's an actor.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's not just his music.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I did enjoy some of his songs, but to me, Men in Black will always be the best thing for Will Smith, and then everything after that's like, okay.
You don't like 7 Pounds? You don't like...
Never saw 7 Pounds. I did like him in The Pursuit of Happiness. He's great in that movie. Mm-hmm. King Richard, he has a good acting performance. Yeah, I'm with you. I probably will look at Will Smith differently now, but Men in Black will always be... I mean, that's one of my favorite movies. He's fantastic in that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I love Men in Black, but Independence Day is the one for me. That's the epitome of Will Smith cool.
Fair enough. Welcome to Earth. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna get to the Raiders' loss, the Niners' loss, and everything that went on for Week 4 in the NFL. But real quick, Steven, let's get your thoughts on the Giants making a change at manager. Bob Melvin out as San Francisco Giants manager after 2 seasons. Buster Posey will speak tomorrow in a press conference at 10:30. We're hearing, rumors already of possible candidates, maybe Nick Hundley or Mark Hallberg, maybe even Bruce Bochy, now that he won't be retained by the Texas Rangers. But your thoughts on Bob Melvin being out?
Well, I think now, I think it had to be done. It had to be, because you have Logan Webb, Matt Chapman, uh, Rafael Devers, Willie Adamas. You have all these guys long term. You seemingly have your core. You might be. I don't know if Devers is going to be playing first base next season. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if they'd rather have Devers at first, Chapman at third, and then Adamas at short, and then you have Eldridge hitting in the designated hitter spot. I don't know if who's going to be the starting second baseman moving forward. I like the core that they have. There's a lot of pieces they need to add, but I do think the manager needed to be on the way out. And after a while, I kind of realized, just even though Melvin doesn't have much emotion, and I think that's what really irked Giants fans, is when they stunk, just not calling out the team for reasons that I think are pretty calculated. I also just don't think he had a ton of interest. Like, it felt like he was just doing it to do it. I don't know what it was. It just felt like there was just a lack of motivation on his part. And it was mainly after I asked him the question about their comeback and whether he's drawing inspiration from years past. And then he's just like, we're just trying to win games. And I'm like, okay, but that's not going to inspire much with the team. Like, you're not telling the team, hey, we've been able to do this before, we could do it again. You're just telling them, oh, let's just go out and win the next day and hope. I just don't think that I don't really know where the motivation was for him. I really don't.
That's fair, but I don't think that Bob Melvin just took the job to take it. I think that he hated his situation with the Padres and wanted to come home to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And I thought that he saw a team that he could win with. But it's clear that him and Buster Posey were on different wavelengths when Buster's saying it's time to go after the Rafael Devers trade, and Bob Melvin every day after a loss is saying, well, we just got to come back to the ballpark and figure things out. It's a different mentality. I'll talk more about it on Saturday because I have thoughts on Bob Melvin being fired. I have thoughts on Giants fans kind of living in the past, wanting to go after Bruce Bochy. And I know that news broke today about. Go ahead.
Well, the thing that struck me, though, is not so much with Melvin. And I know we are going to have more to talk about on Saturday because we're going to learn way more in that news conference. And there's only so much you can talk about with a fired coach after they go 81-81, because it's only just what's going to happen from here on out. But what's pretty clear, and what I find interesting about this Giants team now, is who's going to be the big question I have next year is who's going to be the scapegoat. Are you going to start blaming the players? Is this going to be a situation where if they fall flat again in the dog days of summer, are they going to start blaming Posey? Because this is officially Posey's team now.
Yep.
Like Farhan, his last hire was Bob Melvin. Melvin is gone. He was a Farhan guy. And this is officially Posey's. Whoever he hires, like, that's going to be his decision. It felt like this was kind of a first year where you're just giving him kind of a gap year, where you're just like, okay, let's just see how it pans out. This is really cool that we have Posey here. But now it officially starts. It is his regime. It is his organization. And this managerial selection is going to be huge, because we saw what happened with Farhan and his Gabe Kapler decision. And I think that struck a lot of Giants fans the wrong way. I'd be interested to see how the development side of things is handled. If Melvin, if that was Melvin's issue, because it just felt like their younger players were called up at wrong times. I don't know how else to explain that. Like, they were, it was just inopportune, I guess, for them. And they just never flourished the way we thought that they would. So yeah, what's Posey's motive here? Is he going to go someone younger? Is he going to go with experience? Is he going to go with this past with Bochy? And I think we can fast forward to Saturday, where I'll say that I think hiring Bochy would be a mistake. But I mean, I guess you'd like it for nostalgic purposes, maybe on a certain condition. But I know we're going to talk about that more on Saturday. And he's probably going to answer questions in a way where he's like, I'm still keeping my options close to the vest. I'm not going to say anything. Like, we're looking for anything and everything, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on that.
No, I hear you. I'm with you. I think that hiring Bochy would be a safe move to make the fans happy, but it'd be a lazy move. And we'll talk about it more on Saturday. I don't think we're gonna get a lot tomorrow. I think it's gonna be kind of the same responses from Posey, where he'll give these statements on how he wants the team to play better, but we won't get any details of who he wants as a general or as a manager. And I know that news broke today about Jonathan Kuminga signed his extension or got the contract to get 2 years, $48.5 million. We'll talk about that more on Saturday too, along with the moves that the Warriors made now. Finally, that they got this deal done with Kuminga. Al Horford signs, DeAnthony Melton signs, GP2's back. Seth Curry's going to join the Warriors, but won't be on the roster until November 15th because of aprons and all that shit that I can't understand. The bottom line here is, I know some people are like, I'm glad it's done. It's not done. It's just starting. The talk of Jonathan Kuminga getting traded will be amplified once we get to January 15th. This contract today means to me that most likely he will not be on the roster going forward. That's what I surmise.
I've also been thinking about it. Why wouldn't you want to get traded in the middle of the season? Because it's most likely you are going to get traded to a contender. And it's pretty clear that he wants to be traded to a team that more wants him as the centerpiece of the offense rather than winning. That's what his focus is. That's what it's telling me.
Yep.
But in my head, I'm like, if you have the mindset of a winner, if Kobe Bryant is your hero in terms of basketball and what he's done in the NBA, well, Kobe Bryant was all about winning. And if he were to get traded, he'd probably want to go to a winning team. Why wouldn't you want to go to a winning organization? Maybe I'm getting that wrong on Kobe because he was just a different cat in the late 90s and early 2000s. But I also think keep the agent out of it. Kuminga, you do your talking because the agent didn't help you.
No.
This media tour that he did, like I tweeted this out, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I'm like, so, okay, you got the contract. Great. So you were never going to sign the qualifying offer. You waited until this deadline, till October 1st. It was going to be tomorrow night at 9:00 Pacific time.
Mm-hmm.
You waited all this time just to try and stretch out the negotiation as long as possible, not for them to flip on the team option, but rather they were going to rip it up and then renegotiate. So you told us that he was going to be fully bought in if they flipped it to a player option. Well, now they've reached halfway with you. So what's he going to be? 65% bought in? 70% committed until we get a notification that the team option has been ripped up? Just don't talk anymore. And I think the most telling thing was from Media Day yesterday, which doesn't say much, honestly. Media Day is just a fun little day of celebration so the Warriors can get back in the groove of things. All right, it's great. We're getting back into basketball. But Media Day doesn't reveal much. I thought the most revealing thing from yesterday was not just, I forgot about the whole Jimmy Butler Buddy Hield thing. That's going to be fun to watch for a full season. But Steph essentially saying, look, I don't want to hear from the agent. I want to hear from the teammate. And from what JK's told me, he's committed. So I'm going to listen to that teammate. And Kuminga has to uphold that. You have told not just the leader, not just the franchise cornerstone, you have told the guy who has changed everything for basketball in the Bay Area. You have told a Mount Rushmore Bay Area athlete that you're fully committed to this team. So you better be committed. You better be, or else they're going to ship them. Right.
Yep.
I don't know where. Probably. I mean, if they're not winning, it depends if they're winning or not, obviously. But
I think either way. I think that if they're winning and he's contributing, then he'll stick around. But if it's going to be a whole thing where he's upset that he's not starting, and I don't know how he is going to start with this roster right now. Who's playing the two? And what's hypothetically Steph Curry, Jonathan Kuminga, Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Al Horford. You need a shooting guard. So no, that's not happening.
I can empathize with him, and probably in him being 22 years old and his agent telling him, look, I'll handle all the talking. You just keep working out and doing your bit. I can empathize with that. Like when I was, 22, I didn't know what I was doing. And hell, I mean, I'm still figuring out how to handle my professional life. And so I think this is a situation where Kuminga got duped. And I don't think he did what really was in his best interest. I think it was in the agent's best interest. I don't know. And the agent said, oh yeah, this is what's best for JK. but I don't think it was. I think he fooled him. And I think him doing all the talking has done nothing but hurt his value, because everything that you've heard about Kuminga, it's nothing but good things. Work ethic, him supposedly being a really good teammate, like all those different things. So, yeah, and I'm very interested to see if this bleeds into the season.
I think it will. And I don't think anything is truly resolved today. I think it's just now the Warriors have the upper hand when it comes to potentially moving him. If he signed the qualifying offer, then they were fucked. They wouldn't have been able to trade him, and he would have just walked in free agency. Now they can finally get something of value in return now that his contract is $48.5 million, and they can match those salaries up. We'll talk about it more on Saturday, but let's talk about some football. Let's talk about the Raiders. Before we do that, Alon was picking games on Saturday.
Okay.
So no hot sauce challenge, because that would be unfair to Steven because he didn't make these picks. I beat Alon just by 1 point. So next time Alon co-hosts, he'll do the hot sauce challenge. But Steven, you have another challenge that you have to uphold, or a punishment you have to uphold, because you and I are both in the Tickle My Butthole Fantasy League with our good friend Jacob Violante. And when you have the lowest point total, you have to chug a beer.
Yeah.
So I guess you're doing this now.
Yeah, I wanted to wait for that beer to get into the fridge. I didn't want to just leave it out for 25 minutes or whatever. So I just texted Jesse. I told her to get me the beer. So let's just get into it, and I'll do that. Yeah.
Did I hear you clap your hands? Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's making my pregnant ass bring him beer.
Thank you, Jesse.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll start off then with the Raider game. Dude, I know I say I'm not a fan anymore. What you got there?
Saginaw Golden.
Ooh. Is that Draymond Green's beard?
Yeah, I know, right? I thought of Draymond immediately. I'm from Saginaw, Michigan.
Yeah.
No, dude, I've been into light beers lately. Like I was in a little IPA phase, a little hazy, maybe just a regular IPA, but now I'm kind of just in this light beer mode. So I'm all about like the Pilsners. Shoot, give me a buttered Coors Light. Give me a Pacifico. I'm kind of over the IPAs now.
I don't blame you. Modelo too?
Yeah, of course. Modelo's also. It's either Modelo or Pacifico. Those are the top two.
They're very easy. And Rocket Uera says here, I got hot Jelly Belly challenge for Steven and Derek. Yeah, I saw he sent us something in the DMs with their hot little jelly beans. So that may be a new thing we have to incorporate. Okay, Raiders. I know I say I'm not a fan anymore. But dude, this game got me mad. This game got me pissed because it brought me back to flashbacks of games I've seen with the Raiders losing a million times. I feel like I've seen this game so many times where they outplayed a team and the other team just did just a little enough to win the game by 1 point, and they lose. They get like a blocked field goal at the end, and you feel like, damn, the Raiders did everything to win that game. The Bears did so little to win that game, and the Raiders were more deserving. And I'm not a fan anymore. Believe me, I don't live and die with every game. Like, Steven, I used to get so pissed during the 2016 season and everything after that when we were watching games at Pick Six or Townie's Chicken Pot Pie Shop, and I would get so mad. I don't live and die with every Raider game anymore. But there's some games where I watch now where my favorite
and break beer glasses in the process.
Yeah, I would break beer glasses sometimes. But there's some games during my post fandom where I get Raider flashbacks where I get mad. It was a couple years ago when they lost to the Arizona Cardinals, when they just got Devontae Adams, and they lost that game in overtime when they blew a 20-7 lead. I got pissed after that game. I was watching the game, and I got mad. I was like, Jesus, can they never improve? Like, even though they do these things in the offseason to get Pete Carroll and you think things are going in the right direction, and probably they will. But this type of game is like, damn, it's the same old thing. It looks like the same old Raiders. I've seen this game a million times. It just pissed me off. So I'll let you say what you want to say about the game, Steven, but I definitely was brought back to my Raider fandom where I was like, fuck, nothing ever changes for this team.
Well, this is for the league. So cheers. This is the little Campbell Oktoberfest beer mug. All right, good Lord. This is not really a punishment, but this is and not for the podcast, but it is for the Fantasy Football League. So Jesse, hit screen record. Thank you very much. All right, here we go.
And Steven's chug of the beer. His nice little Stein. He's chugging away. Sounds like he finished.
Ugh. Ugh.
He's going to sleep good tonight, fellas.
Oh, God. Oh, that's a lot of beer.
Yeah.
What is that? 16 ounces? That's a pound of beer.
You should be proud of that. You should definitely be proud of that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Jeez. Raiders. How is that a punch? It's not a
It's
punishment.
not a punishment.
It's
Rocking.
like just a fun thing. We enjoy it. So here's the thing that got me is I lost to a team called Mimi Siku, which is from Jungle to Jungle. This is the name of the character, and I never thought I'd get a Jungle to Jungle reference in fantasy football, but I never thought that I'd lose to that team, and it felt like there was just layers of holy shit, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, sorry about that.
By the way, so that's not going to be the first time I'll chug, but we will send that to the league, and I will, as Jacob says, atone for my sins. That guy types weird. Jacob talks weird in that group chat. You notice that?
He texts weird all the time where he always has to respond. I'm like, dude, just let it go.
Well, I mean, he can respond. It's fine. But like the way that he talks is just so debonair.
Okay.
It's beyond weird.
That's one way to say it.
Yeah.
Debonair.
Yeah. I mean, he just said, all right, buttholers, in a shocking turn of events, yours truly was not the loser of the week. The cone of shame goes to none other than the new prospective daddy, nice guy Stephen Langford. May he atone in peace.
Yeah, it's very poetic.
Yeah. Raiders, back to it. Yeah, it's the same old thing, man. It's the same old thing where it feels like one or two performances were wasted because of a specific player or a specific position group. Sometimes you might just say, well, it's because the offensive line sucked, which it felt like it has these last 2 weeks. It's felt like it's been on the offensive line along with subpar quarterback play. But considering the game you got from Max Crosby, where in the first half alone, he already had a TFL, almost two of them, almost another fumble recovery, the tip to the interception, another tipped pass. Like he was filling up the stat sheet in the first half and was having himself an all-pro type of game. The Ashton Genty thing, I mean, that doesn't even need to be said. I mean, this dude and the offensive line were clicking on all cylinders. And then it's Geno Smith, who just can't help but turn the ball over. And this guy who not made history, but you could put into context the type of performance that he had in terms of yards per air yards per pass and yards per target and all that. It's the most that's been thrown since 2016, or the most 20-yard passes that have been thrown since 2016. And now in these past two games, Derek, where's the stats? I had them. Downfield passes, specifically in home games right now, and passes that are down the field 10 yards or more. 0 for 17 with 6 interceptions.
Oof.
0 for 17 with 6 interceptions. And looking at the 5 passes that he had, he didn't have anything over 20 yards downfield, which I think is an issue. You have a guy like Trey Tucker who seems to be on the verge of a breakout season here, and you don't try to throw it deep to him at all. I think that's a problem. But from passes 10 to 19 yards, he was 0 for 5 in this game. And 3 of them were the interceptions. Either he's holding the ball too long, he is just throwing a terrible pass, which is what that third interception was, where it was a crossing route by Jacoby Myers. And had he actually thrown the ball in stride, then I'm not saying Myers would have scored a touchdown, but it would have been a significant chunk of yardage. But instead, he threw it behind him. And there was one of the interceptions where I kind of got to give Kevin Byard credit. Like, I thought he made a really nice play where he just completely fooled Geno into trying to throw it to Jacoby Myers, even though Tucker was running deep. Like, I have to give him credit on that. But the fact is, the quarterback is not playing up to the standard that we thought. And the other problem that I have is moving forward, what's the answer? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Like, people are already calling for Kenny Pickett. Do you remember Kenny Pickett?
You're not benching Geno Smith for Kenny Pickett. That was a move made out of necessity because you wanted a solid backup quarterback given the Aiden O'Connell situation.
And there's other issues I have with this team and the way that they've looked, but obviously I want to get your take on the overall situation.
Well, we knew when they acquired Geno Smith that he was a turnover machine, so that's where the running game needed to come into play to help him out, and it did for this game. But yeah, I mean, as Rocket Nuera and AJ Cruz like to say all the time, it's Geno throws, and yeah, that's the case right now. If I could go one further, he reminds me of Gino Garoppolo, and I think that Italian brother, where Jimmy threw a plethora of interceptions when he was quarterback of the Raiders, and now Geno Smith's doing the same thing.
Especially the one where he threw it with his feet completely square.
Yeah.
They were parallel to the line of scrimmage. I'm like, what the hell are you throwing that for?
Yeah, Geno needs to chill out with the turnovers. Even last week, he definitely threw the ball into harm's way. I'm surprised the Commanders didn't come up with any picks. But the Raiders still should have won this game. Despite Geno's terrible play, the Raiders still should have won this game. The offensive line played a hell of a lot better, and that's including the horrible 4th-and-1 play where they got no blocking whatsoever, and they gave the ball to Ashton Jeanty up the middle, and right away that defensive tackle for the Bears just comes rushing through. It gets him 4 yards in the backfield. And I was like, this team offensively looks like the 2006 Raiders as far as the offensive line. They look terrible. They can't block anybody. Then things changed. Then they started to block a lot better, and Ashton Jeanty looked like Ashton Jeanty with Boise State. I know that Ryan Clark, after 2 games or 3 games, whatever it was, he was ready to say that this guy's not it. I think that's a ridiculous statement to make so early in his career. But once he got blocking, he was incredible. He had 21 carries for 138 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 long rushing touchdown. I think it was like 68 yards, the longest in the NFL this season, and 2 receiving touchdowns. I didn't know if he was going to be a good receiver. I remember talking to you and Alon, and I was like, you're going to draft him at 5th overall, and he's not going to make impact plays in the receiving game. And Alon, told me to calm down on that one because he definitely caught some passes at Boise State. So that may be the case where he's impact player in the receiving game. But yeah, I mean, when you block for this guy, he could be a game changer as a running back. So the fact that he went off in this game and they weren't able to win the game just pisses me off. And then Max Crosby being unbelievable with, he was equal parts Lawrence Taylor and J.J. Watt and Khalil Mack all in one in this game. He had it felt like 4 deflected passes. I think that the stat line, kind of shortchanged him there. I know that they give him a forced fumble, and it was a running play technically for Caleb Williams, but to me, that was a forced fumble on a sack. But he was just a one-man wrecking crew out there. He was incredible. Yeah. Maybe his best performance in the NFL right now, and that's saying something. And I'll tell you this, and I probably shouldn't because it will validate opinion you had a long time ago. But if people remember, Steven and I argued about Max Crosby and Khalil Mack years ago. I think it was the 2021 season when we started doing this podcast. And you said that Max Crosby's a better player than Khalil Mack. And I was like, I don't know if you could say that right now. I don't know if he's going to be ever what Khalil Mack is. And I'll tell you this, I was watching the game with my pops. We were watching the game. We had so many screens going, but we were focused on the Raider game for a little bit. And sure enough, my dad turns to me and goes, you know what? I think when it's all said and done, they're going to say that Max Crosby's the greatest Raider defender of all time. I was like, what? Are you insane? And he goes, I think you made that argument right now. I was like, you think he's better than Howie Long and Greg Townsend and Ted Hendrickson and all these great Ted Hendricks and all these great players of Raiders past? And he was like, Derek, I think he's more talented than all those guys. Yes. And I was like, wow, I'm shocked by that. But watching that game, he is a difference maker, man. He gets the quarterback more frequently than Khalil Mack did. It's different. I think Khalil Mack was more gifted, just being a physical freak. But yeah, Max Crosby is on a different playing field when it comes to pass rushers in this league. There was a time where my pops would say, you can't put Max Crosby in the same category as Nick Bosa. You definitely can now. He's playing better than him, and that's not saying because he's injured or whatnot, just because Bosa hasn't put the stat numbers up, the stats up the last 2 years. But
Crosby's more of an athlete. Like Khalil Mack, I think, was more powerful, but Crosby has hands like a boxer and has feet like a basketball player. And I think he uses all of that into being one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Just one of the best defensive ends in the NFL. I'm tired of them putting him into coverage. I don't need to see – it was the same with Khalil Mack. It was the same exact thing with Khalil Mack. I don't need to see number 52 dropping into coverage. I just don't. Like,
Right.
I just need to see number 98 lining up either in the 5 or 9 technique and just rushing the quarterback or getting into the backfield. I do not need to see him covering a receiver. I mean, it's probably what the defense calls for at times, depending on, I don't know, whatever the offensive formation is. But he's so just gifted. And I think this game, more than any, I think he was aware that Caleb Williams could run.
Yeah.
I think he was. And in that first half, especially, it was that first step. You always talk about it in basketball, right? That quick first step. That first step changes everything. Hell, in baseball, a first step in the outfield, it changes everything. There was that one first step that he would have where he would kind of bait Caleb into sticking in the pocket because he'd always like kind of like a jab almost. And then he'd just go straight to the quarterback and fool the offensive tackle. Like they didn't know what to do. God, he was so good.
Yeah.
The Raiders still lost.
I know. That's the hard part where Max Crosby has been a good sport for the longest time. You hear him, defend the Raiders, and there's some times where he's like, they better do this, or otherwise I'm going to demand a trade. He's got to be so frustrated because he had an all-time performance and they lost that game. And it's not his fault. It's really on the offense and the defense, but like not his fault because he did everything in his power to win that game. But I've seen that game so many times, Steven. I know you have too, where the Raiders don't pull away in the end. They give enough time for a team to go down and score, and sure enough, they did. And then you're like, there's not enough time for the Raiders to win this game. And there was. And then you wonder if the field goal was going to be done too quickly, and then the Bears come down and win that, and then win the game. But they lost this game with not taking the opportunity they had. They were up 21-19, I believe, only up by 2. And they needed to convert that third down to Dante Thornton. It was third. I got the situation. Hold on. The Raiders just didn't close the door. It was 3rd and goal, and Dante Thornton needs to come up with that ball. If he catches that ball, he has a good chance of walking in the end zone, and they go up 28-19 and most likely win the game. Instead, they kick the field goal. The Bears should come back and score a touchdown to win the game. And sure enough, they did. They went down the field. Ben Johnson in the second half was a hell of a lot better. What pissed me off, though, was Caleb Williams did not play that great. He played fine, but they still won the game. It was very reminiscent of Kyler Murray just pulling a win out of his ass against the Raiders 3 years ago, just playing off of pure talent. And they got in the end zone. They got that, the left side of the secondary blocked up, and DeAndre Swift just walked into the end zone to take the lead 25-24. I don't know what Caleb Williams was thinking, just throwing that ball in the back of the end zone when it was so crowded, but they're only up by 1 point. And the Raiders don't do enough to move the ball after Dylan Lobby gets that kick return and puts him in pretty good position. But then the offensive line can't get a burst once again. They go backwards on 3rd and 1 and have to settle for the long field goal. That makes it a 52-yard field goal. You're seeing so many teams now block field goals. I don't know what it is right now, where they have a defensive back rush off the right side, and they come in unblocked and are able to block the field goal. It sucks, and I don't know how field goal teams account for that. But the Raiders deserve to win that game. I don't think the Bears outplayed them. But then again, when Geno Smith throws 3 interceptions, what are you going to do? So same old for the Raiders right now.
Yeah, and the thing that scares me is how good Jackson Powers Johnson was.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder, like, what the hell were you thinking? Why was this even a competition in the first place? Maybe he was, maybe he had some fuel added to the fire just based on how they've been talking about him. But JPJ was all over the place yesterday. Dylan Parham, by the way, played an awesome game. Like, he totally made up for what happened in that one against the Commanders. But if you have questions about Jackson Powers Johnson, and it's just, this was a competition. Ashton Genty having to change his stance and then changing it back and having his best game so far, and then keep saying, well, I like him in that stance. If
the Mike Myers stance too, that's what they call it, where he just,
And if you have made those decisions so far and you didn't know what they were till week 4, it has me questioning whether you have made the right decision at quarterback. And I'm sorry, like it just does. And not even to mention, like Colton Miller got hurt. We didn't even mention that part. Like, he got hurt towards the end of the game. He's going to be placed on injured reserve. I don't. Who's going to be in his place? Stone Hemingway or Stone Hendricks or whatever his name is. I think his first name's Stone. I forgot he was going to be working as the swing tackle for that team, but
Right.
It's just so many things that they changed at the start of the season that they reverted back to that we all expected, both being with Genty and Jackson Powers Johnson, and that actually working out. It does have me questioning their judgment. If they say Geno Smith can be the quarterback that he used to be in Seattle, which was one who at least could guide them to the playoffs, then I kind of do question a lot of what's going on right now. And it scares me. It's not even just, and you know, along that, in that same vein, like with Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz had an excellent game. He had probably his best game too as an edge rusher in a while. He didn't get to the quarterback, but he had a lot of pressures. I think it was like the most he's had since 2023, obviously, because he was hurt all of last year. But there are just so many good things that they did that the fact that they still lost the game and it was on the quarterback, it has me questioning the coaching staff. And I'm not to say like I'm out on Geno, and it's not to say I'm out on the coaching staff either, because there's a lot of time left to pick things up, right? I mean, I know you're playing the Colts, but this is as good a time as any where you got to pull off an upset win, because right now, I guess you can call it the approval rating, it's down. The approval rating for the team is down. The coaching staff, the quarterback. I mean, there's always going to be fans calling for a backup. I was at the 49er game. Fans were already calling for Mac Jones at halftime. And they just paid a starter quarterback $53 million a year. Like, are you even thinking? But also, we were in the bathroom. I'm not going to ask a guy like, hey, what are you thinking about in the bathroom?
That's fair.
Yeah. There's just so many questions unanswered with the Raiders. And I hope they can improve on the good things moving forward. And yes, I mean, had that field goal not been blocked, I do feel like Carlson would have knocked in a 54-yarder.
I do too, but the fact that you were in that position in the first place, you should have gone a little further.
Yeah.
And Colton Miller's injury does not help, especially with the offensive line woes. It was one good performance, but let's see if they can hold up. And they attempted that field goal with 38 seconds left, so there was plenty of time for the Bears to respond and kick their own field goal. So the offense, if I'm questioning anybody right now, it's Chip Kelly as a play caller. I don't know if he's going to fit with Pete Carroll. And as far as Geno Smith, when I saw the Raiders traded for him, I was like, all right, you know, that's a good answer for right now. But is it the long-term answer? No. Like you and I talked about it, where even though they gave him a contract, he's the stopgap guy. They eventually need to draft their own quarterback. And Geno is turnover prone. I thought that he was going to be benched last year for Sam Howell with the Seahawks. I think that Pete and the team, John Spytek, everybody in the organization, were just so quarterback desperate that they were willing to go after anybody. They were willing to go after Matthew Stafford when there was rumors about his contract negotiations not going well with the Rams. There were other quarterbacks that were potentially out there. John Spytek did an interview with my guy John Middlecoff, and he was like, we were going after everybody we could think of. There's some, inquiries that we made this offseason I'm embarrassed about, as far as like pie in the sky quarterbacks. And John was like, are you willing to, divulge who you reached out to? And he goes, no, I don't want to, because some people are going to laugh at us for actually making that phone call. But they settled on Geno Smith. He's the best guy available. And I mean, I don't know about his long-term future with the Raiders, but right now he's the guy. They're not benching him for Kenny Pickett.
Derek, but the thing is, even though we knew he was going to be a stopgap and we knew that he was turnover prone, I didn't think he would look as shook.
Yeah.
Like, he looks shaken up right now. That game, if you just go back and watch the incompletions, each one, it's just the Jimmy Garoppolo happy feet combined with the type of throws you get from any quarterback. I'll use Sam Darnold when he was seeing ghosts. Like, Smith is talented. Like, we saw it in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't be turnover prone, sure. But a guy who you can at least take the good with the bad. And he did not look like that guy on Sunday. And I hope that this is something that has him maybe I can't think of the word.
No,
Extra
that's fair.
motivated. I don't know, dude.
Well, if we
Should
could
be
be honest,
professional here.
if we were going to be honest about Geno Smith, his career hasn't been great up until recently when he filled in for Russell Wilson. He was a career backup. He was drafted in the second round with the Jets, was their starter for a little bit of time, and then got, benched and released, bounced around from the Chargers to the Seahawks. And it wasn't until Russell Wilson got traded to the Broncos where he looked like Russell Wilson. So maybe Pete just has that effect with quarterbacks in Seattle where once they leave, they don't play very well. But they're reunited with each other, and now it's not looking the same. So I don't know what to make of Geno Smith. I think he needs to get a better running game going, and he can feel a little more comfortable delivering the football. But also, when you have your running back rush for 138 yards and you're still throwing 3 interceptions, something's wrong there. So I don't know, dude. This was a game that they needed to win. It wasn't a must win, but it's a got to have it. And I felt like they needed to get to 2-2, and then you can, see what happens against the Colts. But I think it's going to get a lot worse. So, yeah, my expectations for them to win 10 games probably a little too much for me, a little too much from me. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. I still think they're going to trend in the right direction with Pete Carroll, but yeah, it's going to be more of a building process than I thought.
Well, I'm also not going to act like I do have to take a step back when I watch that game and think like, well, what did I expect from this team? Well, I expected maybe 8 wins, 9 at most.
Yeah.
So they're playing like the team that looked like that. I don't know. It's just that wistful, kind of hopeful feeling you have in the early part of the season where you're thinking, oh, maybe it's better than I thought. But no, they are who they thought they were.
Yep.
Or they are who we thought they were.
Yes, the old Denny Green quote. And Skills is right. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't wasn't Smith the guy who snapped Eli Manning's consecutive start streak? Absolutely. It was against the Raiders. And they started Geno, and that was a move made by, what was that? Brian, no, not Brian Gutekunst. What was the coach, Steven? The guy with the mustache. Remember him, the Giants head coach? I'll find it.
Pat something.
Was it Pat?
I think so.
I'll look it up in a second. But yeah, the only reason the Raiders won that game was because Eli Manning was benched. But Geno wasn't great with the Giants back then. Yeah, he was with the Giants. He was with the Chargers.
Got to look this up.
Yeah, I know. It's going to bother me.
Pat Shermer? No. Ben McAdoo.
Ben McAdoo. He benched Eli Manning for Geno Smith, and then John Mara was like, none on my watch, and fired Ben McAdoo the next day.
What's he up to these days?
I don't know what Ben McAdoo's up to these days.
We need a search. Oh, he is a senior defensive assistant for the Patriots.
Defensive assistant. That's interesting, considering he was an offensive guy.
He was an offensive assistant last year. Now he's a defensive assistant.
I guess it's kind of similar to Robert Saleh being, I guess, an offensive assistant for the Packers last year.
Maybe we should do a little Pablo Torre finds out situation and find out what's happening there.
Maybe. Speaking of which, next Saturday, or this Saturday, we need to get into Kawhi Leonard's response to everything going on with Pablo.
Conspiracies, I'm not into that. Clickbait,
yes.
I'm not into that.
Exactly.
He not into long-form podcast episodes that have an hour and a half of straight detailing what went wrong with you in that business that you decided to deal with.
Yeah, and it almost was like Kawhi was longing for the media day that he had with the Toronto Raptors, where they're asking him about, did you know about this fake company? And he's like, can I just laugh again? All right. Let's go to the 49ers. They get their first loss of the season to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 26-21. And Brock Purdy was rusty. He did not have a good performance whatsoever. He was fine at times. At first I was like, oh, that throw to Ricky Pearsall was pretty good. And then Copes was like, you think so? And I looked at it again. I was like, that's a pretty low throw. And Ricky Pearsall bailed him out there by catching it one-handed. But everything else, yeah, he threw that interception to Devin Lloyd, the first one, in a crowded area where he had guys in the flat that he could have thrown to. The second interception, it was tipped, but still, where are you going with that ball, Brock? And then ultimately he lost the game on the strip sack by Eric Armstead that was recovered by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So 3 turnovers by Brock, not good. But I kind of came into the game with the mentality that Brock wasn't going to be good. When you're gone for 2 weeks and you're playing on an injured toe, I think your running game needs to pick you up and your defense needs to pick you up. And that's easier said than done when you don't have Nick Bosa now. But they really need to run the football. They are not able to get any push offensively when it comes to running the football. And that's what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. So they're using Christian McCaffrey right now. Do you know he's like the 3rd leading receiver in all of football right now?
Yeah.
As far as receptions?
Yeah.
That's not sustainable. Like, that's not what he's there to do. Like, he's there to be your Swiss Army knife, but equal parts be a good runner and also, help out in the receiving game. But it's not a necessity right now because they don't have a lot of healthy guys.
What did I tell you, man? It's also because he's not that fast anymore.
I don't know if it's that, Steve. I don't know if it's that, Steven. You really think it's because of that?
Yes. Yes. I think that he was in 2023. I don't think the offensive line was as good as people think it was. I think McCaffrey was just that badass and quick. He was just able to outrun everybody. There's plenty of opportunities that he's had to go for big gains, and he's just not as fast anymore. And that's not an indictment on him. Like, he is still I don't want to make this about Christian McCaffrey. He is still very much a threat. Like, but I'm not saying but I'm also saying that he is not the same running back that he used to be in 2023, but he helps them in a variety of other ways. And I'm going to stand on this, is that he seemingly has more value as far as the big plays as a pass catcher than as a runner. But as a runner, he has more of a value in terms of being kind of an attention seeker, in that the play actions that they were running, they were still pretty successful on them. And even though, like, it's obvious, at the game, I'm showing off a little bit. I could tell. You could tell when they're about to run a play action. You could tell. You could see that Kyle Juszczyk is lined up right behind the right tackle, or the left tackle rather, and then they motion him so that he goes and kind of lines up in the slot or even back at fullback. And then it's as if they're running an outside zone play, and you're like, that's play action. But the Jaguars are still falling for it. Like, the defense is still falling for it. I still think the value is there, but I just don't think he's as explosive of a runner as he used to be. And I think that he made up for a lot of pitfalls and had us thinking that the offensive line in 2023 was almost elite, where in reality they were good. But I think Christian McCaffrey was just on another level at that time. And again, it's not to blame him because he went through the injuries that he went through. I thought this game was more about the quarterback and really the entire team overall.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you tell me like he can't run the football or they can't run it as effectively, I'm like, yeah, because their running back isn't as effective as he used to be.
Do you think they would be better running the football right now with Brian Robinson?
No, because I just don't think Brian Robinson's a number one.
Yeah.
I still think you run it the same way. I mean, maybe you don't give him as many touches in the passing game, but if you can give him 15 to 20 carries, I just don't know if he's going to be getting you, those classic 85 to 115 yard rushing performances every week.
I'll be watching more intently on Christian McCaffrey this Thursday to see how he's running, but I can't say 100% that he's not the same running back. I think it's a mix. He may be declining as a player, and that's kind of expected with his injuries and his age. But I think it's also the offensive line. Trent Williams is declining as a player as well. That's evident the first 4 weeks.
That was another thing for sure.
Yeah. So I think that, look, it's not to be easy on Brock Purdy by any means. But I think for this game, he needed help from his supporting cast a little bit more coming off of injury. And that's a hard ask with how many injuries they have right now. But they needed to run the football, and the 49ers needed to stop the run. And I get that Nick Bosa's not out there, but that stat was alarming from Matt Mayoko on Sunday, where they did not get a sack nor a QB hit for the first time since 2015. But that's kind of expected when you don't have one of the best pass rushers out there. So they needed to stop the run. And it's not like Trevor Lawrence went crazy offensively in this game. I don't know if he's that good of a quarterback, to be honest. Like, he does a lot of dumb stuff where I'm like, damn, dude, this is your 5th season, and you're throwing the ball in the middle of the field right before halftime, where you have to call timeout and settle for a field goal, where you could have thrown to the end zone a little bit better and score right before half, where this game could have been more in hand in the second half. They didn't do anything offensively in the second half either.
The fact that the 49ers even had a chance in this game is astounding. Like, when's the last time you've seen a 4 turnover to 0 turnover game, and that team with the 4 turnovers has a chance to win on the final drive?
Exactly. I thought the Niners were going to be in the situation to win the game, and they were, but I thought they were going to take advantage of it, and then immediately Brock fumbles. But, yeah, it's not like Trevor Lawrence had an amazing game. Now, you could have put him in more uncomfortable situations had you stopped the run, and he was forced to pass a little bit more. And the Niners were actually pretty good defensively on third down. I think the Jags were 4 of 14. But, yeah, they need to come up with pressure in different ways. I don't know if Bryce Huff and Michael Williams is going to be enough for them. But to me, the key was they knew going into the game that Travis Etienne was a factor, and they run the ball a lot. And they need to stop the run. They weren't able to do that. And it's easier said than done. It was one big run at 48 yards, but that was the determining factor for me. So it's equal parts Brock having a bad performance and as well as the defense. And I think that we can honestly say this team is the same team we saw the first 3 weeks of the season. It's just that the Jaguars capitalized on their flaws. They are a flawed football team. And we kind of knew that going into it, where there was a lot of inexperience on defense, but the defense carried the offense for the first 3 weeks. This time around, the defense wasn't able to, stop the Jaguars in the running game. And it kind of looked like a season ago. Even though they have Robert Saleh, the run defense was awful, and the special teams was awful a year ago too, and the Parker Washington punt return was the backbreaker. So I can't say I'm surprised with this outcome. This might be where reality sets in as far as the 49ers as a football team. Now they're going to face the Rams in a short week, and it doesn't sound like Brock Purdy's going to play given the toe injury. It doesn't sound like Ricky Pearsall is going to play. It doesn't sound like Jawan Jennings is going to play. Who knows? Brock was able to play on a short week 3 years ago against the Seahawks, but if he doesn't have a supporting cast, I don't know about their chances. You may see Mac Jones. I think the Rams are a better football team right now, so I don't know about the 49ers. I think it's just one loss, but at the same time, you're kind of seeing what this team is really about.
Yeah, and for me, it's not blaming the game on Brock Purdy. I think that's just kind of lazy. But I do think there are some certain concerns to be had about number 13 right now. For one, he was just missing everything high. And I like the question that Kruger asked after the game, if it had to do with any of his mechanics. And he didn't really have an answer if the injury had anything to do with it. He said he had to go back and watch the tape, which made me think, okay, so you're saying you have to go back and watch the tape when you're asked if an injury was the reason why you had some bad throws or made some poor throws. Like, if you're going to the tape, either you didn't hear the question or you just don't want to answer that your toe was actually bothering you.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely think it was. But Purdy's just looked inaccurate whenever he's on the field so far. I think Ricky Pearsall has looked outstanding. But I agree with you that he definitely helped Purdy. You're talking about that play down. So the one-handed catch, was that the one down the sideline?
Yeah, at first when I watched the game and I watched the highlights back, I was like, okay, that's not a bad throw by Brock. But then watching it more afterwards, like we were doing the show, and I was like, not a bad throw by Brock. And Coach was like, that was a terrible throw, dude. And I'm like, really? And I look back and I'm like, yeah, that was pretty low. Like that was going right into the ground. It wasn't putting right on the money for Ricky Pearsall. He had to go up there and make a one-handed catch, like through his bicep to get that ball. But
right.
Yeah, I don't think Brock had a good game.
There was a little hitch on that throw too. I think he had him open, and had he actually thrown that ball right away, he might have been able to hit him in stride. But instead, Pearsall had to make a play on it. I think what we're seeing right now from Purdy is a similar player from last year. All the things that he said he was going to fix, not trying to force anything, having the trust in his offensive line. Well, you're not really getting it from the spot that's supposed to be most reliable. Like, who would have thought that Connor Colby and Colton McKivitz would be the side that you could actually look at, as opposed to Dominic Pooty and Trent Williams on the left side? I actually thought Trent Williams was getting beat more than Pooney in that game. Pooney's were just more glaring. But there were a couple where Josh Hines, is that his name?
Josh Hines Allen.
Hines Allen, excuse me.
I made that mistake a couple times too this week.
Josh Hines Ward Allen. He got by Williams and had his hand in Purdy's face. It's like, what is happening right now? That's not supposed to happen with Trent. And I just think that Purdy's feeling that. He's feeling the pressure, and he's reverting back to what he looked like last year. I'm seeing a lot of people posting how quick they forget when talking about Purdy, and they're showing highlights from 2023. Like, okay, show me something from 2024.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that we forgot. It's that we're seeing a different quarterback right now. And he's not having the faith in all of his players. Feels like he's focusing too much on Christian McCaffrey. I think a reason you're seeing a lot of targets, a lot of that share go up with him is because Purdy focused on him a lot. There are certain plays where it's like, hey, well, I'm looking at Kendrick Bourne right now, or I'm looking at Ricky Pearsall. I'm not looking at Demarcus Robinson. I'm not looking at Braden Willis. There was a play. I don't think they got a touchdown out of it. I got to look back. I believe they only got a field goal. Yeah, it was the first drive of the game where they had a field goal. I think there was like just about 8 minutes, 40 seconds left. He tried to get it to McCaffrey and forced it to him, but he had Braden Willis wide open in the middle of the field. There are just certain things that he's not seeing that he used to see in the early stages where he felt like he could go through his progressions. I think that's a concerning trend there moving forward that you should pay attention to. Again, it's say like the 49ers played a terrible game, and the fact that they were even in it in the first place is kind of shocking. And I don't think it was all on Brock Purdy, but I think there are some abilities that he used to have that he doesn't seem to have anymore. And then you compound that with the injuries.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that, you need to pull the cord on Brock Purdy as a quarterback and for the 49ers.
You paid him $53 million, man. You
I know.
gotta see that out. You can't just say, hey, bench him for Mac Jones, who, by the way, didn't play well against the Cardinals. Go back and watch it.
Yeah. No, he was going to beat up in that game. But, I mean, he played well enough to win that game. But at the same time, he's not going to win the job over Brock Purdy. Now, we knew that Brock Purdy was a limited quarterback. That's what I'm saying, where his ceiling's not as high as Jordan Love or these other quarterbacks I'm talking about that are more gifted, as far as talent. But Brock brings you something different. Him getting the contract is the same deal to me as Trevor Lawrence getting his contract or Jordan Love getting his contract or Tua getting his contract. It's just the market. That's the way it's going to go right now. Should they have got that money? Probably not. But that's the way that the things are going for the quarterbacks these days. And yeah, like Larry Krueger made a great point where he was watching practice all of last week, and Brock was missing high a lot of the time. And I think, he caught on quickly where it's just a matter of who was the more healthy quarterback, and that was Brock as opposed to Mac Jones last week. So this week, it probably changes because Brock has been on the injury report the last 2 days, has not practiced. And Mac Jones has been a full participant. No injury designation. Does that mean that Mac is healthy? Probably not. But you better be damn sure that Kyle Shanahan wants to go into this game with at least one quarterback healthy, and he probably has more faith in an injured Mac Jones than a fully healthy Adrian Martinez. So, yeah, I think that's where things are trending, and I think this is where you might see the Niners slide a little bit. Not saying their season's over; they still have a very easy schedule, but this is where they played, better opponents in the Jaguars and the Rams and the Bucks. We'll see how they are after this. We'll see how they manage against the Rams. We'll see how they fare against the Buccaneers on a mini bye week. But yeah, I think that reality is kind of setting in for the 49ers.
Well, I think that it's also a sure thing. We haven't really heard this argument much because it doesn't look like this is even this doesn't even look like it's a talking point. That Super Bowl window's it's shut. This does not look like the team that can win one. Like you said, it's not to say the season's over, but if you're going to be a 49er fan who has the expectations with this team, which has reached the NFC Championship in whatever it was, 4 out of the last 5 seasons. I could be wrong on that specific number, but we all know what they've been able to do. 4 out of the last 5 seasons prior to 2024. If they're not reaching that standard, like I think the talking of the conversation around this team has shifted. And I think it's really like, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because this was not meant to be some sort of year where they're like rebuilding. Like this was a year where, shoot, some had them predicted to win the Super Bowl, and they just don't look like it right now.
Yeah, I don't know, Steven. I think some people thought it was going to be a mix where they were going to be competitive and rebuilding at the same time. But even Kyle and Trent Williams before the season said, don't think about Super Bowl right now. Like we have a lot of young guys on this team. We need to figure out what kind of team we are. Hopefully get into the postseason. We'll go from there. But I think if you asked this team, honestly, behind closed doors, they'd be like, no, Super Bowl's not our expectation this season. I know fans had that expectation, but I don't think this team did.
Eventually, too. It's too early to say this, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the year we're saying, I don't know if you could win a Super Bowl with Brock, and that's the guy that's kind of the last resort there.
Yeah,
I really think this is like where we see it with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. Like this was their kind of last ditch effort to turn this into a Super Bowl team, and I don't know, unless they can make some miraculous move again, where in the future it just doesn't seem like Purdy's the guy, and you just happen to find another one. I don't know. I'm not saying it's done yet, but it just looked like the best that we've seen of Purdy was in 2023. Just watching him, I remember having so much. I remember week after week, just every single time that he would drop back and make a throw in rhythm, like, oh, that's a completed pass.
Yeah,
that's it. That's a completed pass. Or every time that the pocket would collapse and he would break outside and maybe throw on the run, completion, or he'd do something. But now it's kind of like, oh boy, what's going to happen? You just don't know.
Yeah, he's definitely regressed, but it may be the injury as well. We'll see what happens here, though. We'll see what happens with Brock Purdy. But I do agree with Don Peralta here. He says Kittle coming back will help a lot. I do think that will help the offense, not only in the passing game, but the running game as far as him as a blocker. So that won't be this week. It may be next week against the Buccaneers. We'll see when George Kittle returns. All right, let's do some quick hits as we go around the NFL. And let's start with the Sunday night game that pissed me off. The Packers and Cowboys ends in a 40-40 tie. It was a very entertaining game. It was, of course, Micah Parsons coming back to Dallas, and I was thoroughly disappointed with the Packers defense for how much we've talked about them and hyped them up. I think we need to pump the brakes on them being the second best team in the NFC and challenging the Eagles. I don't know about that right now. I think that, last week they couldn't do anything offensively and the defense kept them in that game. It was the opposite this week where Jordan Love looked really good. They were able to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. He got hurt later in the fourth quarter in the overtime period, and Eugene Wilson had to step up. But they definitely were better offensively. Romeo Doubs catching 3 touchdown passes. And, like I said, Jordan Love looked really good. 40 points should be enough to win a game, but I was shocked just the game plan that the Cowboys came up with to counteract the Packers pass rush, where it was just quick passes from Dak Prescott. I mean, on the stat sheet, Micah Parsons got a sack, but that was kind of a gimme sack where he stopped him from, running into the end zone, and that was a crucial play, but it wasn't really a true sack. Like I said before, the clock management by the Packers at the end of that game was just dreadful. You needed to go into the end zone there. You only had 1 touchdown left, and you had to score to win that game. I don't know why they're doing these. I know it was effective early on in the game, but they did these sideways passes to the running backs where Jordan Love should just been throwing to the end zone. You were effective throwing to Romeo Doubs in the end zone. Try for it again. Try to throw to Matthew Golden or Tucker Kraft. Throw shots to the end zone, and they decided to do that with 6 seconds left. And thank God they had 1 second left to tie the game. But, yeah, my overall thing is the Cowboys are better than we thought offensively. Defensively, they're terrible. And the Packers are still a good team, but I'm not ready to say they're better than even the Lions at this point.
I think we underestimated Javonte Williams and what he would do in the run game for the Cowboys, and I think the Packers just completely underestimated George Pickens. The final play that they used to go up, what was it, 37-34.
Yeah, that was quick.
They're playing press man, and then that mic'd up moment where CeeDee Lamb is saying, look at the way they're playing him. Like, they knew that they had an open touchdown there. I think it was just poor coaching all around from the Packers side of things. As you mentioned with the clock management, Collinsworth was going ape shit at the end of that game. Like, what are they doing? And then
they're going to lose the game right here. He said it like during the play.
Yeah, because it really looked like it. And the fact that they were even able to walk away with a tie. Look, I just think that I don't know if this is like so much of an indictment on the Packers defense. I think the Cowboys just had a really good game plan going in. Kind of just shredded them and executed it to perfection. We've seen the Packers play pretty damn good defense more often than not. So I'm not going to look at that and say like, oh, the defense needs work, because we were saying that same thing about the offense last week. I think both of these teams I think the Packers are a better team. Are they the best in the NFC? No. The Cowboys might be a little bit better than we let on, but hey, so far they're just 1-2-1. So an entertaining game, but also they do need to fix the overtime rules.
No, I agree. I think that
put it at I don't know, instead of 25 like in college, put them automatically at like the 40, maybe even the 35.
Yeah, with the changes being made now to kickoffs and the overtime period where both teams possess the ball, you can fiddle around with the rules where you get a full 15. If we're going to do that where both teams need to possess the ball in order to get a victory, then yeah, I think we need to extend the overtime period to 15 minutes. And then, yeah, I'm all in favor of going to a second overtime. But I know that leads to injury. But then again, don't give me that bullshit. The NFL doesn't give a fuck about injuries when we're playing games on Thursday night. Come on now.
Yeah.
So
the fact that one ran all the way down to the 1 second mark just so they could tie the game is stupid.
I know. And I'm with you. I think the Packers still have a pretty good defense. The Cowboys really wanted to win that game. They wanted to shove it in Micah Parsons' face. But yeah, I would say right now, that game kind of felt like the Packers lost and the Cowboys won, which is the situation at hand. So I'm not down a lot on the Packers, but I am a little bit after the hype around them with getting Micah Parsons.
Packers were 10 for 14 on third down compared to the Cowboys, who were 4 for 11. And the Cowboys had 11 penalties compared to the Packers 7. So if you just look at like the bare stats, it didn't look like the Cowboys played a clean game, but they still managed to put up 40 points. God,
yeah,
a tie.
Yeah, and then Ernie won second OT. Come on, Derek. No, I mean, why not? Why not? We have this, and we have these in other sports. And Lauren F's right here. Derek's going to lose his shit if there's another tie this weekend. Yeah, you bet your ass I am. That's
just in overtime again. Like, just take the clock off.
Yeah,
base the overtimes on whether they score touchdowns or not.
Right,
and make it interesting. See if a team goes for 2.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. That's not bad. Okay, moving on here. The Eagles remain at 4-0 with a 31-25 win over the Bucs. The Eagles do enough in the first half to go up 24-6, and they got creative with the tush push. I've been asking for this for a long time, where they knew that the Bucs were going to defend that pretty well with Vita Vea up the middle, so they throw quick passes to like shuffle passes to Dallas Goedert for a couple of touchdowns. They did the fake where they attempted the tush push but flip it out to Saquon Barkley for the touchdown. They're really good on special teams too, blocking that field goal to win the game last week and then blocking a punt this week to get the early lead. The Eagles are good. They're the best team in football right now at 4-0. Best team in the NFC by far. The defense, even with injuries to Nolan Smith, applied pressure pretty well to Baker Mayfield. Even though they had busted, coverage sometimes where Mecca Ibuka came up with that touchdown. I still don't know how he got that ball between 2 defenders. And then Bucky Irving with that long touchdown reception. The Bucs got back into the game in the second half because the Eagles, even though they can run the ball and at times they can throw the ball, but 0 passing yards in the second half, that's incredible. And still win the game. -1 passing yards?
No, -1 yards, just total.
Total offensively?
In the second half, yeah.
How's that well, they had the one play where Saquon scores, but then they had a fumble on a botched snap that went backwards. So yeah, I get that. The Bucs came back in this game and they lost the game essentially when Baker Mayfield threw that interception in the end zone to Jahad Campbell. So the Bucks had injuries. The Eagles are honestly the better team, and they had something to prove where Tampa's kicked their ass the last few times. So, yeah, nothing else to say. Then the Eagles are a flawed team, but still the best team in football.
Here's my question, Derek, because we were saying the same exact thing about this team in 2023, and it feels like I wonder if we're heading for a repeat of that. It might feel different this time around, but are we going to get a situation here? Because here's how their next 4 games go until the bye week, right? You got against Denver, very winnable game. You got 2 against the Giants. I believe the next one's up against the Giants. But you got 2 against the Giants and then 1 against Minnesota led by Carson Wentz. So all very winnable games leading up to the bye week. They could very well go 8-0 to start the season. But then after that, they are in Green Bay, then they host the Lions, then they're in Dallas to play the Cowboys, and then they host the Bears. Like, I just wonder if either the Packers or the Lions game is one where they kind of get exposed and then they start to unravel like they did in 2023.
I hear you because there are similarities, but I think that we saw those flaws early on where the defense couldn't stop anybody. They were just getting by. And I think I trust the coaching staff a lot better with Vic Fangio and their new offensive play caller, Kevin Patolo, who's been there for a while. I didn't like their assistant head coaches 2 years ago. So I think they're in a better position to maintain their excellence. They've won, God, I don't know how many consecutive regular season games it's been, but they've only lost 1 regular season game since
last year, going back to the one against the Commanders, dude.
Exactly. They've been dominant. So I'm not ready to say it's going to be a repeat of 2023. I think that the team just caught on to them. James Bradbury and Darius Slay, more so Bradbury, was getting exposed. But it really was the Niners game where people were like, hey, we have the blueprint to beat the Eagles now. I don't see the same thing. I think they're still a pretty good football team. It's just they're just going through the motions a little bit, and they're still effective being 4-0. But A.J. Brown, we made a big deal about that book on the sideline he had. I forget the name of it. I guess Inner Excellence or whatever the hell it was called, where he was like, no, man, that's my motivation book. I call bullshit on that. They won a Super Bowl. He's happy. But A.J. Brown tweeting out these cryptic things after a performance where he has 2 catches for 7 yards, he's pissed. He can go off in an offense like this, or he can do nothing like that, and he's going to let you know he's mad about it.
I think we are at the point, though, where he's just got to find a way to make it work. Like, you're just not this team that's going to go provide this offensive output. Do you know how many total yards they have this season, Derek?
Probably not a lot. I mean, yards are down across the board, I want to say, in the NFL.
1,006. They have 1,006 total yards through 4 games.
That's not a lot.
The only teams with fewer yards, the Tennessee Titans and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Wow.
Yeah.
They find ways to win.
And then the next up, Pittsburgh Steelers at 1,054.
Wow. Yeah, for A.J. Brown, I get it. It's frustrating at times, but you're not going to have a better situation, man, where you're paid, $32 million a year, and you're winning games. And, yeah, you're not getting the productivity that you hope for, but I would say just enjoy it, man. It's a good situation.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it from his perspective, yet they're also scoring 27 points a game.
Yeah.
Man,
but their offense is boring, Steven. But their offense is boring, according to Drew Brees.
Yeah, well, according to Drew Brees, who said it in a very boring voice.
Yeah, I know.
That offense is boring.
Yeah, but we do this in the media, and really the national media, I should say, where if a team keeps winning, they just get bored with it, so they just want they want the demise of the team, whether it's the Chiefs or the Eagles or the Warriors. People just get bored with the team winning on constantly. So they're like, what they do is boring. The tush push is boring. I don't like it anymore. It's like, whatever, guys. The other undefeated team in football right now, the Bills, they have issues on defense right now. I think not having Ed Oliver and Matt Milano affects them. But they were playing the Saints, and this is a game where they play down the competition. Josh is incredible. I think he's your leading candidate for MVP right now. But we're only playing, 4 games in the season. Yeah, like I said, they play down their competition. Watching this game with my pops, I said this on the radio, but it's funny now, where My dad's not calling games now, so he's all in on the morning slate when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. So he'll put on, a Bills hat and a Bills hoodie and watch the games. And he acts like a fan, though. It's hilarious to see him like a fanboy, where the Bills are leading this game 24-19, and the Saints are driving, or 21-19, whatever the score was at the time. And they're driving, and he goes, "What the fuck's going on here? The Bills going to lose this game?" And I'm like, "Relax. How many games in the NFL have you seen? They're going to win this game." He goes, "Derek, there's so little time left." And I'm like, "God, you sound like me, like back in the day with the Raider game. Calm down." And sure enough, they pull out the victory. But it's just funny to see my dad be such a Bills fan.
So you think he'd be conflicted with the 49ers and Bills if they were to reach the Super Bowl?
He says that, but I think it's definitely playing a factor now because he's a Bills fan. I'm like, really, he supports the Niners because that's his team, and that's the team he works for.
Right.
But he grew up his whole life being a Bills fan, and his parents passed away, so I think that's his connection to them. So yeah, I think that if the Bills and Niners ever played in a Super Bowl, I think he would be conflicted. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I don't have much on this game. It's just Josh Allen's an MVP, and the Saints have Spencer Rattler. And had they scored a touchdown at the end of the first half, where they would have gotten the ball back where they actually had the lead, then maybe that would have changed the outcome of this game. But instead, through the interception when they were in the red zone with 5 yards to go, and then the Bills ended up coming out, and then that's just where they started stopping on them. So, not much really to this game. I guess I was surprised that the Saints hung in it for so long.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely wanted to play a little better from their performance against the Seahawks, and they did. But yeah, I think the Saints right now are right there in the running for the first overall pick next season. Speaking of a team that was winless, going up against a team that was undefeated, the Giants got their first victory against the Chargers. Jackson Dart gave some life to the offense. He, not a ton through the air, but that rushing touchdown, the opening drive, was enough offense for a while. The Chargers are going to have some problems on their offensive line now, with Rashawn Slater being out for the season, and now Joe Alt suffering a high ankle sprain. That is not good, so that's going to affect them as far as protecting Justin Herbert. Their defense still effective with Tua Peloto getting 4 sacks in this game. And Steven, I think you got to give it up to Quinton Johnston. Quinton Johnston. He's, he drops passes every now and then, but he's their deep threat, dude.
Yeah. Why are you acting like I'm the only one who's called about? Everyone owes Quinton Johnson an apology. Come on.
I know. Not just you. Even our guy Evan Giddings needs to apologize. But but he knows. He's definitely played well this season, but last year he was dreadful at dropping some balls. But yeah, whatever.
The guy I got to apologize to is Omarion Hampton, who has managed to carry 6 different Giants on his back during one run. It actually earned him the angry runs from Kyle Brandt for the week. It must have broke his heart to not do Cam Scatterbo as the winner. But the Giants are effective running the ball. But can I give you the most anticlimactic fourth quarter, I think, of the season so far? I'm not going to act like I've gauged every single fourth quarter. But you tell me if you can think of another one. Giants kick it off, 7 plays, punt. Chargers go 3 and out. By the way, this is when it was an 18-16 game. Again, Giants, 7 plays, punt. Chargers 3 and out. Giants go for 10 plays, punt. Chargers go for 7 plays, punt. Giants go for 6 plays, punt. And then the Chargers just run out the clock at the end and couldn't get a touchdown or a score out of it.
Yeah.
18-16. And no one could get ahead.
Yeah, and also this game could have resulted in Brian Dable having one of the bigger blunders where he went for it on 4th and goal and didn't get it. I think it was 18-16 or whatever it was at the time, or maybe it must have been something else. But as far as the score, but he went for it. The Chargers had the ball. They were driving, and the Giants defense stopped them. But yeah, I mean, the Chargers still a good football team. I don't know how they're going to be offensively with both of their starting tackles out now, but yeah, it's a bad loss on the East Coast. But they'll probably rebound. Nice interception from Sexy Dexter Lawrence. But Yeah, I mean, the Chargers will be fine. Quentin Johnston as their main deep threat, and Keenan Allen as their second wide receiver. I'm surprised Lab McConkey hasn't gotten more receptions this season, but yeah, big win for the Giants. Not going to say that they're going to turn things around and be a great team by any means. I think that Brian Dable is still on the clock as far as his job. And I'm still so on Cam Scatterboo. I don't know what to think of him. It's not like he had like 25 carries for 79 yards. That's 3.1 a carry. So I don't think he's doing anything that spectacular.
Well, he did pull off the lead block though that got Jackson Dart that touchdown. So
that's true.
Give him credit there. But have you heard? You mentioned Sexy Dexy. Have you heard the nickname for the quarterback?
Jaxie Daxie?
Because of the resemblance to Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels, people calling him Darth Vader.
Because of the eye black?
The eye black, the long blonde hair, the clean-shaven face. Made sense. Not mad at that if he keeps winning.
That's not bad. I just can't wait for the moment, though, where maybe it's not Brian Dable, maybe it's the next head coach, that he has an argument with him, and he just screams, "I hate you! You can't do this, Jackson Dart. I have the higher ground."
You liar!
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on here. Let's go to the Chiefs. They win their game against the Ravens, 37-20. I don't know if the Chiefs have fixed their offense or just the Ravens are that terrible defensively right now. I think, Mahomes is still Mahomes. 4 touchdown passes, still no running game to speak of. Lamar Jackson exited this game with a hamstring injury, and then Tony Romo was like, "Oh, Jim, you might see a spark from Cooper Rush." But I don't know what the hell that was about. But yeah, I think the Chiefs could still, maybe win this division, the AFC West, but I can't put a ton of stock into this game considering how putrid the Ravens are defensively.
Yeah, they just don't look the same, do they? Normally they pick it up later in the season, and we're kind of just sleeping on the Ravens defense, and then in the back half we're like, oh, well, they kind of got the best defense in the league right now. You gotta watch out for the Ravens, but they're not showing that. And I agree. I don't find that the Chiefs are back. I know they had Xavier Worthy, who they haven't had since that first game in Sao Paulo. I just don't know if the Chiefs are back so much as the Ravens defense is just lackluster. Roquan Smith looks slower.
Yeah.
I don't believe they had Matabuke.
He's out for the season now, yeah.
He's out for the season. Yeah. So I just I don't really know what to make of that game. And just Lamar Jackson, it seems like Lamar Jackson's done. What's this with him? Like, people are accusing him of giving up already.
No, I can't. I can't believe that.
That's just, because he's unlikely to play these next couple of games, right?
I don't know. We haven't heard anything. I guess he will find out tomorrow with practice for the Ravens. And by the way, people are coming down Tony Romo's road with him saying like they might get a spark from Cooper Rush. Really, that's just because it's a different type of quarterback. So I understand what he was saying there, but people, of course, go to awful announcing and be like, "Oh, he sucked." Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it seems like the Ravens would have a good landing spot here with the Texans and their lack of offense. But if it's Cooper Rush, I do not know. I do not know what this team's going to look like. The Lions look like the best team in the NFC North right now. Their offense is just so damn good. They beat the Browns 34-10. Their defense, I think, has improved from a season ago, and that's not saying a lot because they had so many injuries. But the Browns defense is nothing to fuck with. They were giving the Lions trouble to start off, but then the Lions pulled away. And man, Amon-Ra St. Brown is unguardable when he's on the goal line, dude.
Yeah, that was my one little observation from this game is just that connection that he has with Jared Goff. Like, you could be the best defense in the NFL, but I think that connection is beating the best defense 9 times out of 10.
Right.
They're so good together.
No, they are. And just their formations where the run game is so electric that when they're on the goal line and they could put Amon-Ra split out as like a fullback and they do play action fakes off of that and no one's they're all, kind of selling out for the run. And then Amon-Ra's just open in that corner on the out route there. Yeah, you can't stop that. And it's a testament to Dan Campbell, and they're not skipping a beat without Ben Johnson as their offensive coordinator with John Morton. Did you wake up at 6:30 to watch the Steelers-Viking game? Probably not.
I didn't wake up at 6:30 to watch it. I woke up at a normal time and caught the tail end.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't know what it is with me and my NFL body clock, but I opened my eyes and I was like, I'm awake. And I looked at my clock like, 6:30. I'll put on the game. The Steelers are 3-1 right now. I think they're the best team in the AFC North by default, given what's going on with the Ravens right now. The Browns are the Bengals don't have anything quarterback-wise. Rodgers looks better. It helps when you have DK Metcalf, who goes for like an 80-yard touchdown pass and just a beast. Kenneth Gainwell saved me in fantasy. I started him without even knowing if he was going to play, and Jalen Warren doesn't play in that game and has a great performance, rushing for 99 yards and looking unbelievable. They let the Vikings get back in this game. Carson Wentz, he's okay. He's a good serviceable backup right now, but he might be a better option than J.J. McCarthy right now. I don't know. But Mike Tomlin could have ended this game by being a little more aggressive. They went for it on fourth down, didn't get it. And then the Vikings got back in the game with a touchdown pass to Justin Jefferson. I think it was Jefferson, or maybe it was Jordan Addison. But then they could have ended the game on a 4th and 1 at midfield, and they decided to punt. And Greg Olsen was basically challenging Mike Tomlin to go for it. But yeah, the Steelers win the game. They had a big lead in this game, 24-6, and then the Vikings came back. But I don't think you could say a lot about either team right now. I think the Steelers are the best team in the North by default, and the Vikings are okay given their quarterback situation. Their defense is really good, but I don't know what to make of them long term.
We always look at the highlights, especially when it comes to Rodgers, and it's just we've seen like one where I don't know, he's throwing to a wide open. God, who was it? Was it Calvin Austin in that first game? I can't remember who was in the end zone, where it was just a wide open player against the Jets, where it's like, oh, Rodgers is back. There was this one where he scored a touchdown after the smelling salts, and I even forgot who he passed that one to. But that's a highlight that we showed. But this, going back and watching, this is not an Aaron Rodgers I enjoy watching. It's not an Aaron, because Aaron Rodgers was so electric in terms of his downfield passes. Mm-hmm. And now it's just 2 steps, quick to DK. If you're a DK Metcalf fan, this is your favorite team ever. It's just a quick pass, quick pass, quick pass. You're not getting any of that Aaron Rodgers magic anymore. And if you look at the stats, let's just say advanced, right? And we'll use the Lions as an example. Intended air yards, which is pretty self-explanatory. Intended yards that you're throwing through the air. Jared Goff was one of the leading guys in that category in the league. 11.9 intended air yards per pass. 11.9, which is pretty big. It's a pretty high number. Go down to the very bottom. Aaron Rodgers, 2.6. 2.6 air yards per pass. And Geno Smith was just ahead of him. And Geno, 4.8. It's just not a fun version of Rodgers to watch anymore.
Yeah, because he's 40, man.
I know.
Like he has to get these balls out quick because the offensive line, he doesn't have mobility anymore. I hear you. I totally hear you. It's not the same. It's just what he has to do now as an older quarterback. Speaking of older quarterbacks,
like it's very sustainable. That's all.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one too. I don't know how good the Steelers team is actually, considering they had 5 turnovers or 5 takeaways against the Patriots and still only won that game by a touchdown. Speaking of older quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford looked incredible against the Colts. 375, 3 touchdown passes. But I feel for my guy, Adonai Mitchell for the Colts, or people call him AD Mitchell, because he went to Texas, and I feel bad for him.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, that's brutal. Like, he's about to score his first touchdown in the NFL, and he fumbles the ball right before he crosses the goal line. And not only that, and that would have given the Colts the lead in that game. Not only that, in a tie game, 2020 with like 2:25 left, Jonathan Taylor busts a huge run for 53 yards, and then called back on a holding penalty by A.D. Mitchell. So bad, not a great day for him. But the Colts hung tough in this game. I mean, I think they play really well defensively, and they run the ball very well with Jonathan Taylor. This is the first time where Daniel Jones looked like the Daniel Jones of New York, throwing 2 interceptions and having the forced fumble from Jared Verse. But that's bound to happen going up against a really good Rams defense. Puka Nacua, same thing with Amon St. Brown. You cannot cover this dude. I don't know what the Niners are going to do when they have to face him. Not to mention Devontae Adams, who looked good even with the hamstring injury. And then Tutu Atwell was just fucking wide open on that touchdown pass. So I think the Rams, you can make the argument if you're going to rank the NFC teams right now, I would say Eagles, Lions, and then Rams right there.
Yeah, and during our preseason predictions, we said arguably the Lions have the best skill position group in the NFL. But if you have an all-around performance like you did from the Rams with even Kyren Williams added into that wide receiver trio that you talked about, the Rams are right up there. If on any given week they could be the best in the NFL. God, they just look so good, and against a Colts team that is no slouch. Even though Jones didn't play that well, they're a damn good team. So I think the Rams I felt pretty good last week about thinking the Rams are the best team in the division, even despite that loss that they had to the Eagles. But this kind of cemented it. I think the Rams are the team to beat in the NFC West right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I also think that the Colts still losing this game are the team to be in the AFC South. They hung tough with them, like I said, but I think they have the best formula to win than the Jaguars do. The Jaguars play really good defense, but I don't have a lot of faith in Trevor Lawrence right now.
Yeah.
Crazy to say. I have more faith in Daniel Jones with Shane Steichen than I do with, Jacksonville right now with Trevor Lawrence. And then the Dolphins win on Monday night. They win that game 27-21 to get their first victory of the season. Really cool flip play that Tua did with Devon A-Chain where it looked like he handed off, but he flipped the ball around his back, and Malik Washington had the ball in the reverse. It came up the field. Really cool to see Darren Waller after a year off to get 2 touchdowns. But the Tyreek Hill play was gruesome. Where do you come down on injuries being replayed, Steven?
I think it's worth one.
Yeah.
I think it's one replay. It's worth it because I think it's a broadcast's duty to actually show that. Like, you want to show, even though you could say it's too gruesome to show you what happened. Sorry, this is football. We're kind of used to it at this point. Don't replay it over and over again. I think show one solid replay that shows the injury, pre-warn people, say, hey, you don't want to watch this. If you kind of get squeamish when you see things like this, turn around. But right now we are going to show you the replay. So have a fair bit of warning, but I do think it's up to the broadcast to show it once, or else you're not showing the full story of the game.
I would agree with that. And yeah, the way that his leg turned, it was gruesome. And at the same time, Jordan Schultz, tweeting out, please don't reshare that video. I'm like, what do you expect, dude? This is the social media age we live in now where, all these injuries are going to get reposted. You don't have to show it on TV. When they showed the highlights back later on, Scott Van Pelt, when he was doing the highlight, they blurred out his leg. And I'm cool with that. That's fine. You need to show it once and then move on. But that's probably the end of Tyreek Hill in Miami. He was going to be a trade deadline candidate. And now that he's out for the season with a torn ACL and multiple torn ligaments in his leg, I think that's it. He's a free agent. He'll be lucky to sign with a team by training camp next year. I'm not saying
Let's go back to Schultz really quick. Is he that oblivious to thinking that he's going to post something like that and no one is going to respond with the video? If you go in his comments, literally the first 7 or 8 of them immediately showing a screenshot or a video of the actual injury. It's like, what do you expect?
Yeah, dude, I can't stand that guy.
He engagement farms. It's annoying.
Yes, he does.
Robert Griffin III and all these guys. And
it's clear that he's just out to, help out the agents that represent the players that he has a connection with. Where, I think the other insiders like Rappaport or Schefter kind of play both sides, really more so the agent side of things. But Jordan Schultz just calls people out and says like, "Don't do that. Don't do that with Tyreek Hill." And I'm like, dude, stop this. Yes, he's the same thing in some ways as Dove Kleiman or any of these other aggregators online. So yeah, it's definitely annoying. But
and I'm sorry, I'll say this: I'm not opposed to religion. I am not a religious person myself, but I always think when you have two teams who are saying like it's all about the path and the journey that God is going to take us on, and I'm like, okay, so you think God hates the opponent, even though they're also praying to Jesus himself as well. But when Tua says something like this, I mean, I couldn't help it, man. Like, what? Oh, gee. Are these really the right words?
All glory belongs to God. My Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Just want to thank him for this victory for us, keeping us safe for the most part.
Keeping us safe for the most part. And that's where I think he's just kind of tongue-tied. But then he went back to praising Jesus in the post-game interview. And people kind of misconstrued, I think, his comments on Cam, where Cam was calling him out, and then he was like, well, anybody can play quarterback these days if you have a clicker. And it's like, he knows that Cam Newton played football, but he says it in a weird way where it's like, do you really know Tua? And I don't want to make assumptions about, his head injuries in the past, but when Tua talks, it's kind of all over the place these days.
Yeah, he's also making tens of millions of dollars every year where he should be playing quarterback. So if you're using that argument, well, not everybody can play quarterback. That's just an excuse.
Yeah.
So you're deflecting your poor play onto the rest of the people who aren't making millions of dollars doing what you do. By the way, did you see that Devin Booker video? If you empathize with athletes and, money isn't everything, money can't buy happiness. Well, I think Devin Booker just poo-pooed all over that. My God.
I did not see it. Is this Jackass of the Week worthy?
No, he's not a jackass. This is just him living his life. He's not a jackass for it.
Oh, okay.
I think this is just a nice reminder as to how much money these guys are making, because I show Speed as everyone's been seeing.
Yeah. I've seen him,
and if you enjoy it, whatever. It's not my speed. I just don't like watching other people walk around and live their life. Like, go live yours. It's beyond weird to me.
I agree.
How the younger generation is just so attached to watching others live their life through a screen. But he went to Devin Booker's house. That's just
whoa.
This is his man cave. It's an old school car garage. It is a Foot Locker. Let me see here.
That looks like Batman's garage, Bruce Wayne's garage in Batman Forever.
Yeah, and he's got everything in there. Got a big screen.
Yeah, I got my dad.
The whole warehouse. It's just, whenever things happen to athletes, I just find myself empathizing with them less and less. It's like, oh, they're going through these terrible things in their life. Look at what they can go back to. At least some of them who are making millions of dollars. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not to say you can say whatever you want and treat them like they aren't human beings, but whenever there's some reasonable criticism, I'd like to think, and they come back at you acting as if it wasn't, well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to feel bad for you just because look what you can go back and go home to. Anyway.
Exactly. No, I'm with you 100% on that one.
One more thing from this game. One more piece of audio. When Darren Waller's scoring touchdowns and him and Gruden doing their interview, oh my God.
Let's listen to the beat you put with it. You ready? Let's get it.
Oh shit, they got the beam on me. Playing defense, trying to draw up a scheme for me. What you mean I ain't the one? Every time I ran around, they had the whole fucking team on me.
Love that. One more time.
Oh shit, they got the beam on me. Playing defense, trying to draw up a scheme for me. What you mean I ain't the one? Every time I ran around, they had the whole fucking team on me.
Gruden's insane. Gruden's fucking insane, dude.
And oh man, when Darren Waller, when that whole thing happened with the Raiders in his career, I did hate it. because he seemed like a pretty stand-up individual, and I don't think some terrible music videos and some pretty awkward songs made him any less of a person. He's always a great human being. So seeing him actually thrive on the field is great. And if you can post that video with John Gruden as much as you can, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Kelsey Plum a year ago, not great, but whatever. He's live your best life, dude. He wanted to, pursue his rap career, didn't pan out. I was happy to see him score last night, even though it was a pretty bad pass by Tua. Good on Darren Waller to get those 2 touchdowns. Just really quick to go through these last games. Just stop me, Stephen, if there's something of interest to you. Broncos dominate the Bengals 28-3. Bottom line, the Bengals are unwatchable without Joe Burrow. I think we have them on national TV against the Detroit Lions this week for the late window with Tom Brady. They need to make a move for a quarterback. I think they need to inquire about Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. They're just unwatchable without Joe Burrow. It really sucks. The Falcons beat the Commanders. Entertaining game, but not really one that's high on anybody's list this week. Better performance by... Go ahead.
I think on the offensive side, it's interesting. Like, I think this is what the Falcons were looking for. Build it around Bijan, get him involved in both the passing and catching game, have Drake London go for over 100 yards, have Kyle Pitts catch a touchdown, have Michael Penix be, I think he threw an interception, but have him be somewhat efficient, going 20 for 26. Wasn't a bad game from the Falcons offense. Maybe this is the start of something not special, but maybe something to build off of for them.
No, I agree with that. I mean, for losing 30-0 the previous week to put up 34 points on the Commanders, yeah, it's a better performance by Michael Penix. And I totally forgot this was the Dan Quinn Revenge Bowl, but in the end, the Falcons win the game. What's that?
Just caw.
Caw?
Yeah, it's a falcon.
Okay, there you go.
You know the popular noise that a falcon makes when it's stalking.
Caw? We all know that sound, Stephen. Patriots explode offensively, 42 points against the Panthers. My thing in this is the Panthers are just in trouble. I do not know if Bryce Young's a good quarterback. No clue.
The Patriots were outgained by the Panthers by 19 yards and still managed to beat them by 29 points.
Wait.
Tells you all you need to know.
The Panthers had more yardage than the Patriots had in this game?
19 more.
Good Lord. Well, that's the yardage stat for you. Sometimes it doesn't really matter. And then the Texans shut out the Titans 26-0. There's going to be no pressure on Cam Ward as a first overall pick. It's incredible, I think, just because of the team he went to. That being said, it looks like Brian Callahan is in line to be fired this season, and that would suck because he just got the job 2 years ago, and I don't think this team is good enough. They basically told you before the season started that they're starting from scratch with a brand new quarterback, and yeah, they took play calling duties away from him. I think that's just a bad move. So, and Cam Moore had to say this after the game.
I mean, if we keeping a buck right now, we ass. So we 0-4. We have this one. We got nothing to lose. We dropped a quarter of our fucking games, and we've yet to do anything. So we have to lock in, especially myself on the offensive line, from the defensive line, from the special teams to all three faces. We have to play together. We have not played together this year yet. And that's just something that, we want to preach about it every day. Every day we got to do better. And we're doing that, but it has to show up on Sundays. It hasn't showed up yet, but it got to show up next week.
He's on the verge of greatness, man. That's a leader.
No, that definitely is a leader. And I think that they should give it time with the coach and Brian Callahan, but it sounds like the Titans brass has different plans. All right, that's it for all the games. Steven, anything else tonight?
No, just, if we're talking about the WNBA real quick, with the finals going on soon, Nafisa Collier, who's the Players Association president, going scorched earth on the commissioner. It's really refreshing to hear someone who's just not afraid to call it like it is. Pretty damning against her in this time when there's all this collective bargaining agreement stuff going down. So, just shout out to her. What was the other thing? Yeah, I can't even remember the other thing from today.
Well, we'll have more to get into on Saturday. We'll go over the Thursday night game. Speaking of which, let's pick that real quick, Steven, with the 49ers and Rams. But yeah, next podcast, we'll talk football, but we'll also go into our thoughts on, I guess, anything that Buster Posey says tomorrow, Bob Melvin being fired, who could be in the running for that manager job. Some people want Bochy. I think you and I are on the same page, where I think that would be a bad move. And everything going on with the Warriors right now. The Kuminga stuff has been resolved for right now, but definitely in line for him to be traded at the deadline or post January 15th. The Rams are 6.5-point favorites, over under 46.5.
I hate to say it, man, but considering the game against Jacksonville, the way it could have gotten out of hand and the injuries that may stack up for this Thursday night game, still waiting for an official injury report, I have to lay the points with the Rams, and I think I'll take the under because I think that total's a little high.
I would agree. I think if the Niners have any chance in this game, it's got to be a defensive effort. They got to win this game like the way that the Rams won it last year against the 49ers on Thursday Night Football, like 12-6. I don't see that happening. I'm going to lay the points with the Rams, and I'm going to go under on the 46.5. And the Dodgers just won 10-5. I know everybody's pissed off about that one too. All right, everybody. We will see you on Saturday at 11 o'clock. To everybody in the chat tonight, thank you to Lauren F. Thank you to Rocca Nuera. Thank you to Pat H. Thank you to the Skills Report. Thanks to Taggy for a little bit of time. Eat shit. Thanks to Dom Peralta, which, by the way, Steve, I don't know if you heard this. He's giving me a dresser. What a nice guy.
Wow.
Hell of a guy, that Dom Peralta.
Congrats.
Thanks to, I think I said already one. Thanks to Skills. I may be repeating myself. Thanks to Van, who popped in earlier, our resident Raider fan, who hopefully provides us with some hot beef jerky in the future. All right, everybody. That's it for tonight. We'll see you on Saturday. Steven, say what you always say.
Oh, by the way, I've adopted the Seattle Mariners as the team that I want to win the World Series this year. That's just our opinion, man.
Big